I think it's terrible that we see this parents versus school like this. I think you once said, Ruben, in another, maybe not in a podcast, but maybe to me, that hey, if parents have a problem with their kids learning or being treated this way, they should just take the kids out of the school. And I think you're right. At the same time, I don't think it harms anybody to take it to Supreme Court to find out, hey, what does the Constitution say?
Welcome to the show, everybody. Today we are reacting to the Politico article titled He, She, They, in which the question around whether children can pick their own genders and even names around their gender identity is if that is even should be allowed anymore, and that question might be taken up with the Supreme Court after it's gone through 3 rounds of federal courts so far, and we're going to the final stage. On the face of it, it doesn't look great for those who are representing kids who may be transgender, because let's face it, if you look at the balance of the court, it leans towards the right. Although I will say, you never know what will happen, right? And Jake, before I turn it to you, I can't think of any particular question that is more politically charged than this one. I mean, I don't want to be too dramatic about it in my lifetime, but I can't think of one. If you think about this topic, this political issue, it pits right versus left. It also pits transgender versus, or I would say transgender, gay issues or people versus straight, and most explosively of all, parents or children versus parents. And that really makes it charged. And whoever loses in this next round, if it makes it to the Supreme Court, will be very, very disappointed. And if you think about it, maybe even one more layer is that on one hand, you have a group, so children, students who, many of whom are, dealing with transgender issues and things, are saying this could be life versus death, right? Life or death situation. And also the other side is saying, yes, this is a life or death. This signals the death of our culture, or you know what I mean? And very charged. And so what do you think about all this?
Yeah, I definitely, when I come across articles like this, it's hard for a writer to be not biased, but you could tell by just reading it that it, and if I do encourage the listener to read it, it's on Politico. You can't help but take a side, and you could see that this writer was sensitive to not only to the children who are transgender, but the schools. And this one lawsuit that may go to the Supreme Court really started in Massachusetts, school in Massachusetts, where the parents felt like the school was doing too much regarding their child, saying that they were they, them, I believe that was the pronoun that wanted to be referred to, and they were like, wait a minute, we're not happy with that. And so then they had this dialogue, and the school sided with the child and saying, hey, no, we're gonna go ahead and talk to the child. We don't have to say anything really to you guys. And then it went to the courts, because then the parents sued them. The lower court said, no, we're going to side with the school. And then now it's being appealed to the appellate court. And you and I know it's going to go to the Supreme Court. Well, it probably will. And according to the writer, they say, you know what, if it goes to the Supreme Court, they were kind of comparing it to Dobbs because of the abortion case heard a couple years, was it last summer or the summer before, regarding this particular Supreme Court leans to the right. And so they believe that, yeah, they're probably going to hear the case and side with the parents. I think it's terrible that we see this parents versus school like this. I think you once said, Ruben, in another, maybe not in a podcast, but maybe to me, that, hey, if parents have a problem with their kids learning or being treated this way, they should just take the kids out of the school. And I think you're right. At the same time, I don't think it harms anybody to take it to Supreme Court to find out, hey, what's the, what does the Constitution say? Although the Constitution really doesn't say things specifically like this issue regarding transgender and regarding schools and parents and who really has the right to be involved in a child's life and their and the parents felt like it was their health care, right? But that being said, I don't know what the Supreme Court's gonna, how they're gonna lean. But yeah, they are definitely conservative. But I don't know. I usually lean towards the parents because I feel like I don't want to, as a teacher, I don't want to be in the position to having to make decisions like parents do. I feel like parents have their role. I have my role. My role is to teach. My role is not to be involved in those issues regarding. And if kids come to me, I talk to them, and I respect them and show love to them, and I expect the same way back to me. But I definitely do not want to be in the middle of this fight. But I'm not sure.
I
But we'll
think
see
the
what
media,
the Supreme Court says.
I think the media would encourage this battle
I
between
think so.
right and left, between parent child. They want to stoke it up.
They love it.
So I would encourage people to look at our private school video because we kind of hint or hit on some of those issues.
Right.
Because there are people who are uncomfortable with their children being taught some of these ideas of transgender, and these are not hardcore conservatives who are uncomfortable with it.
Right.
On hand, and the other thing I would say is that, so you were mentioning things that I've said about this. If you are not aware that your own child is having these issues and it becomes a surprise to you, I'm a little concerned. Now, I'm not trying to take a side here, okay? But I need to be taught because I don't have children, but I'm a little confused. So whatever the Supreme Court sides with, again, I think they love this. I think they like this tension and they want to stoke up this.
When you say they, the media, right?
The media loves this and they love to stoke this. I would kind of argue in favor of it's easy for me to say this because I'm not a parent, but I'm just saying, try to understand your child a little bit more. Don't be the last person to know that your child is going by they, them. That confuses me on one hand. And at the same time, why are you sending your children to these schools who clearly have different values than you do? Help me. And I think I said it to you on a video we didn't release. So I'll make this pitch on this video, which we are releasing, is help me understand why you keep sending your child to these schools that don't share your values. Oh, and we mentioned the Mona Lisa smile. That's what happened. So I made reference to the movie we reviewed last year titled Mona Lisa Smile, in which Julia Roberts becomes a professor at a university that it's been her dream to teach, but she whines for the whole movie about the values of the school being too conservative. Then leave. Why did you apply to a school that's conservative? Right?
No, yeah.
And help me, because I don't understand it at this day and age. There are so many charter schools, and you could interview the charter school.
Yeah.
Some people can't afford private schools. I get it.
I'm sure it's not just, when a situation like this happens, it's not just one family. I'm sure there's a dozen families who are having the situation, and maybe it's like the last fight before they even pull their kid. And I'm not justifying this lawsuit or saying, I'm just saying that I'm trying to figure out how this happened. It usually is a number of families like this who say, hey, you know what? I don't want my kids to be that influenced by the schools. But if it's happening, then like you said, pull them out. But maybe it's like a last hurrah, because I think if you don't know this, the schools are pretty liberal and leaning, and the education there it's not balanced. And so once you come to terms with that, then you make your decision, I think.
In fairness to the schools that of which you describe as liberal, by the way, some people would reject that term. I don't think that's a term in vogue
Progressive.
anymore. I think they would say, well, we're progressive. And they probably might say, because I work with some people like this, right? They probably might say, these are not, these are just keep up with the times. Like, what are you talking about? We're just trying to protect students who need a safety net, which is a school. They're just as convinced. Here's the problem. They're just as convinced of their position as you are of yours. There's no changing their mind. If you talk to people who believe some of these ideas, there's no changing their mind. There's no changing your mind. That's why I ask, well, why send your kid there?
Good point.
Investigate a little bit more, because to me, it's pretty dug in. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a way of life now in terms of I just saw there's some statistics say that a lot of gender fluidity is it Generation Z that
I believe
right now?
so. Z, yeah. The
Yeah,
new one.
it's the stats are. I don't want to quote anything. I have some in my mind right now. I might not be right on some of the quotes, some of the stats of how many students consider themselves either gay or binary. Like, I think our generation, it's like, if you poll them, it's something like 5%. I don't know. It's very
Yeah,
low.
it's low.
But
I think Bill Maher mentioned it. Like now, the Z is like 20% or something like that. Yeah.
yeah. So it's a lifestyle. It's a thought process. It's not going to be changed. So anyway, everybody, any last words on this topic?
No, I don't. I just think that it's good to keep up with it. What's going on though in education in this area? It does like you shared, like we said in the beginning of this episode, that it definitely is polarizing. At the same time, I think we need to listen more and read more. And this is even an article. It might be a little bit swayed a little bit, but it's still good to take a look at. And but anyway, Rube, thanks for having me on again as your brother.
Okay, everybody, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye bye.